Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. In the quiet suburbs of Warner Robins, Georgia, a brutal murder shattered the illusion of a perfect home. On the morning of June 15th, 2024, 39-year-old John Davidson was found bludgeoned to death in his living room. His skull crushed, his blood pooling into the carpet, and his wife, Claire, wailing hysterically on the front lawn. She said they'd been robbed, but investigators would soon uncover something far more sinister. John Davidson was an insurance broker. Quiet, loyal, devoted. He'd been married to Claire, a charming schoolteacher, for 11 years. They had no children, but their neighbors described him as stable and low drama. No history of violence. No enemies, no signs of financial trouble. But John had one thing that made him valuable, an $800,000 life insurance policy, fully updated. Beneficiary, Claire Davidson. 2 days after the murder, Claire was seen embracing another man in a grocery store parking lot. That man was Tommy Ridge, 37, a corrections officer, ex-military, known for his discipline. He wasn't just a friend. He was her secret lover. Investigators discovered that Claire and Tommy had been having a year-long affair, meeting in hotels and exchanging romantic texts under the fake names Lucy and Red. And when questioned, Claire claimed Tommy was just a supportive friend. But her phone told a different story. A text from Claire. "I can't stand sleeping next to him anymore. I want us to be free." A Google search on her laptop. How to stage a home robbery murder. Security footage showing Tommy Ridge's truck parked near the Davidson residence the night of the murder. A hidden voice memo in Tommy's phone. Claire whispering, "It has to look random. I can't be a suspect." And then came the nail in the coffin. A deleted video, recovered by cyber forensics, showing Claire holding a glass of wine, celebrating. But just when detectives thought they had it all figured out, something unexpected happened. Tommy turned himself in. Shaking, pale, he confessed everything. "I did it. I hit him. But she planned it all. She told me he was abusive. I believed her. She said it was the only way for us to be together." Claire, now arrested, screamed betrayal from her holding cell. "He's lying. He wanted him gone. I didn't say that." The lovers had turned on each other, but only one of them was telling the truth. While awaiting trial, new evidence surfaced. A neighbor claimed they saw a third person leaving the house that night. The murder weapon, once thought to be a wrench, turned out to be a military-issued baton, not something Tommy had access to. And buried deep in Claire's emails was a message from someone named Gray Falcon saying, "It's done. No one saw me. The debt's cleared." So if Tommy killed John, and Claire planned it, who was the third player? By now, the town of Warner Robins was reeling from the news. Claire and Tommy, once secret lovers, were now accused co-conspirators in the murder of John Davidson. But while the press painted this as a classic lover's plot fueled by greed, investigators weren't convinced the story was complete. There were too many loose ends, too many whispers, and then came the email. The email was found buried in Claire's archived inbox, disguised under the subject line "School Supply Order," but it was no receipt. It read, "It's done. No one saw me. The debt's cleared. Gray Falcon." Investigators traced the IP address to a cyber cafe on the outskirts of Macon, Georgia, roughly 40 minutes from Claire's home. The timestamp? Just 4 hours after John Davidson's death. Claire was reinterrogated. At first, she denied knowing anyone by that name. Then she said it was probably a spam message. Then, quietly, she asked for a lawyer. Forensic analysts dug deeper. The phrase "Gray Falcon" had shown up once before in Tommy's military records. Back in 2017, during his final deployment in Iraq, Tommy had been involved in an internal scandal, an off-the-books mercenary group known for cleaning up problems. No official ties, no legal existence, just whispers. One of the men flagged in that investigation? A former tactical officer named Grant Foley, alias Gray Falcon. And here's where it gets even darker. Tommy had racked up $50,000 in gambling debts after returning from service. Grant Foley was known to collect. Suddenly, it wasn't just a crime of passion. It was a transaction. Claire wanted her husband gone. Tommy couldn't do it cleanly, so he made a call. Grant, or Gray Falcon, handled the job in exchange for wiping Tommy's gambling debt clean. That would explain the missing murder weapon, military-grade baton, the clean escape, the neighbor's description of a third man, tall, wearing gloves, walking with purpose. Now, the question wasn't if Claire planned the murder. It was whether she knew she was hiring a killer or if Tommy did it behind her back. The final twist? When officers searched Claire's burner phone, they found something Tommy never knew. A second contact saved under a single letter. G. The last message read, "He won't go through with it. Just do it. Make it look messy." It was dated 3 days before the murder. Claire wasn't just part of the plan. She may have orchestrated every layer of it, including cutting Tommy out. But just as detectives prepared to arrest Grant Foley, he vanished. His apartment was cleared out, his phone disabled, his car found abandoned 2 states away, with a fake license plate, and inside the glove box, a photo of Claire asleep in her car, taken from the passenger seat. Before Tommy, before the affair, before the murder, Claire Davidson's life wasn't as clean as her classroom bulletin board suggested. In 2022, 2 years before the murder, she had vanished for an entire weekend, telling friends she was attending a teachers' conference in Atlanta. But no conference existed, no hotel reservations, no school documentation. Newly recovered surveillance footage, secured from a nearby ATM, showed Claire at a roadside diner in Augusta, Georgia. Across from her sat a man who resembled a younger, bearded Grant Foley. The timestamp? Exactly 12:07 a.m., 2 nights into her conference. And that wasn't just dinner. Claire and Grant had a history. Investigators now believe Claire met Grant Gray Falcon Foley before she ever laid eyes on Tommy Ridge. They weren't just connected, they were intimate. One of Claire's close friends, who wished to remain anonymous, told police. She called him dangerous but addictive. She said, "He made her feel alive again." I thought she was joking. Phone records from early 2023 showed frequent late-night calls to a burner number tied to Foley. The content of these conversations? Unknown. The frequency? Alarming. The affair with Tommy may have been a cover. So who is using who? At first, Tommy appeared to be the one manipulated, driven by lust, pulled into murder by love. But what if Tommy wasn't the puppet? What if Claire was? A pattern began to emerge. Grant had a history of seducing emotionally vulnerable women, using them to gain access, money, and silence. A domestic abuse report filed by a former partner in 2019 stated, "He's charming until you say no." In Claire's case, the manipulation may have run even deeper. Emails revealed that she had sent Grant $7,500 over 3 months. The memo line read, "For help." This wasn't just about insurance money anymore. It was about control. Was Claire being blackmailed? Was she coerced into setting up John Davidson's murder? Or was she doing it to protect herself from someone far more dangerous? One journal entry found in a locked drawer read, "He knows everything. My job, my marriage, my thoughts. He says I owe him my life. Maybe I do." The prosecution's case against Claire began to falter. Suddenly, she wasn't just a mastermind. She might have been a pawn in a deeper game, trapped between 2 violent men. During a closed-door psychiatric evaluation, Claire reportedly broke down for the first time since her arrest. Her lawyer described the moment. She kept saying, "He's not gone. He's watching me. He's always watching me." When asked who he was, Claire whispered a single word, "Falcon." The judge ordered additional mental health screening. The jury was shaken, and the media exploded. Who was Claire Davidson? Mastermind? Victim? Or something far more complicated? But then, just days before the trial resumed, something unthinkable happened. A package arrived at the courthouse. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside, a black USB drive. A printed photo of Claire in bed, taken from above. A note, still addictive, still mine. You picked the wrong man to betray. The black USB drive arrived in a plain envelope. No return address. No fingerprints. Just a message. Still addictive. Still mine. You picked the wrong man to betray. Inside were 42 separate video files, all encrypted. Law enforcement brought in digital forensics experts. It took 2 days to crack the first layer of encryption. What they found would reframe everything the public thought they knew about the Georgia lovers case. The first video file was grainy, shot from a ceiling-mounted camera, positioned directly above a bed. Claire was in it, asleep. The timestamp? 3:14 a.m. She had no idea she was being filmed. In another clip, Claire and Grant Foley, alias Gray Falcon, are seen together in what appears to be a cheap motel room. The footage shows Claire pacing while Grant sits silently on the edge of the bed. At one point, Claire says, "If you really care about me, you'll leave John out of this." Grant's response, "If you really care about yourself, you'll shut up and let me handle it." She turns her back to him. He smiles directly into the camera. But Claire wasn't the only one. Out of the 42 video files, 7 featured different women, each one filmed in secret. Each one recorded in a different location. Some appeared drugged. Others seemed terrified. One clip showed a woman whispering. "He said if I told anyone, he'd kill my dog first, then my brother." Grant Foley wasn't just a hired killer. He was a predator, a manipulator, a serial extortionist who built a private library of control. The USB wasn't just leverage. It was his trophy case. The USB drive also included audio files. One, in particular, sent shockwaves through the investigation. A 3-minute recording captured what appeared to be a live phone call between Grant and Claire, 2 weeks before John's murder. Grant, "You know what happens if I go down, right?" Claire, sobbing, "Please don't do this." Grant, "Then do your part, or I'll make Tommy do mine." That changed everything. Claire wasn't just cheating. She wasn't just planning. She was cornered by a man who knew how to bury people, figuratively and literally. Following the USB reveal, the prosecution tried to reframe Claire as a coerced accomplice. But just as the court prepared to introduce the footage as evidence, a second envelope was delivered. This one contained nothing but a single Polaroid of Tommy Ridge walking alone outside the courthouse parking lot. Drawn in red marker were crosshairs over his head. Written below, "One more word, and your skull joins collection." No fingerprints. No DNA. No leads. Grant Foley was still out there, watching. The next morning, Tommy Ridge didn't show up to court. His phone? Turned off. His car? Still in his driveway. His apartment? Empty. No signs of struggle. No blood. Just a single black feather resting on his kitchen table. The morning of Tommy Ridge's scheduled testimony. He vanished. No goodbye. No calls. No trace. His phone ping last at 2:34 a.m. on Route 247, a rural stretch just outside Warner Robins. His wallet was still in his apartment. His gun, issued from his time as a corrections officer, was gone. The only item found? A single black feather left on his kitchen table, deliberately placed at the center of an empty plate. Police feared the worst. But for those who knew the Falcon's tactics, this wasn't just a threat. It was a signature. A multi-county search was launched. Drones swept the woods. 9 units combed the roadsides. State Patrol reviewed traffic footage from nearby gas stations. Nothing. Even Claire, behind bars, began to panic. She reportedly told her lawyer, "He took Tommy. He said he would. He told me if Tommy talked, he'd be next." The DA's office postponed court proceedings indefinitely, awaiting their star witness. But time was running out. If Tommy was gone, Claire had no one left to testify on her behalf. And Grant Foley was erasing evidence faster than anyone could stop him. 3 days later, an abandoned van was found deep in the forest, 9 miles off-road from Route 247. Inside, dried mud, an empty plastic chair bolted to the floor, a small hole drilled through the wall, just wide enough for a camera lens, and on the floor, a bloody corrections officer badge. Forensics confirmed it belonged to Tommy Ridge, but the van held no fingerprints, no DNA, just a crude hand-scratch phrase on the interior wall. Silence serves you better than justice. No body, no clothing, no final message, only a quiet horror. That same afternoon, the courthouse received a third envelope. Inside, a burnt piece of Tommy's shirt, a voice recording on an old mini cassette, a small gray feather, different from the first. The voice was unmistakably Tommy's. Shaky, raspy, terrified. I was wrong. Claire didn't want this. She was just scared. We both were. But it's too late now. If you're hearing this, he knows I talked, and he's coming for everyone else who did. The tape cut off with sharp click. No scream, no struggle, just silence. Authorities now believe Tommy's disappearance was part of a larger effort to erase the entire operation. After analyzing the contents of a USB drive from Part 4, agents discovered 7 fake IDs used by Grant Foley across multiple states. Each identity had been tied to a different woman, a different manipulation, a different psychological game. And Claire? She was just another one. A pawn, a lover, a liability. But now, with Tommy missing and evidence disappearing, the DA's office was considering dropping all charges against Claire until one final clue surfaced. The camera lens from the van, recovered by forensics, contained one final image, a still, blurry, but unmistakable. Claire, standing in the woods, looking directly into the lens, smiling. In the last frame pulled from the lens inside the van, Claire Davidson stood in the woods, staring into the camera, smiling. She had no alibi for the night Tommy Ridge disappeared. No visitors logged. No phone calls recorded. Just that image. Investigators couldn't explain it. Her attorney claimed it was doctored, but facial recognition confirmed. It was Claire. So how could she be behind bars in the woods at the same time? On the day, charges were set to be dropped due to lack of witness testimony. The prosecution stunned everyone by announcing they'd reopen the case with new evidence. In the courtroom, a single piece of paper was presented. It was a notarized document, found hidden in a locker rental in Macon, paid for in cash. It read, "If anything happens to Tommy Ridge, this is to certify that the plan was mine. Not his, not Falcon's, mine. Signed, Claire Davidson." Her lawyer collapsed into his chair. The judge called a recess. And Claire? She said nothing. She just sat there, calm, like she'd already won. The FBI then revealed they had tracked a second USB drive, hidden in a box of Claire's childhood belongings stored at her sister's house. It contained a digital journal, financial records showing Claire paid Grant Foley $10,000 upfront, blueprints of her home, a diagram labeled Angle of Entry, John's blind spot. The journal contained cold, calculated entries. He'll never give me a divorce, but his death could give me a life. Tommy is weak. He's useful but emotional. Grant will clean it up. Claire hadn't just been trapped. She was the one laying traps. For John, for Tommy, and now, for us all, public sympathy vanished overnight. What was once seen as a complex case of manipulation flipped entirely. Claire had orchestrated every player like chess pieces. The schoolteacher, the grieving widow, the terrified mistress. All masks, all fake. And Tommy Ridge? Missing, presumed dead. All roads led back to Claire, but she never blinked. The DA pushed the death penalty. Claire's defense team pleaded mental instability. The jury deliberated for 7 hours, and then came the verdict. On the final day of the trial, before sentencing, Claire shocked the courtroom by standing up and making a statement. "You think you figured it out, but you've only scratched the surface. Falcon was never the one in control. He was mine. They all were. I'm just better at hiding it." She smiled again. And Tommy, he didn't disappear. He ran, because he knew what I was capable of. The courtroom fell silent. The judge sentenced her to life without parole, but the damage was already done. The myth of Claire Davidson, the quiet woman, the brilliant manipulator, had been written. 3 weeks after Claire's sentencing, a letter was mailed anonymously to a local news station. Inside was a photo of Tommy Ridge, alive, in what looked like a small fishing village. In the corner of the image, scrawled in red ink, "She's not done yet." What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.